So welcome back to another episode of Payment Talks. I'm really delighted to welcome today the CEO of Global Processing Services, Joanne Dewar.
Lovely to see you, Nick.
It's great to have you with us. So Joanne, being an issuer, you're right on the front line of what retailers and the economy at large is seeing during this corona crisis. What did you see in terms of authorization volumes, and what are you seeing now?
Well, we certainly very much saw the overnight drop as country by country went into lockdown. But I mean, what's happened for us is that there is an increasing acceptance of card transactions over cash. And so whilst our primary metric is number of transactions as opposed to the value of transactions, so where the corner shop or the ice cream van are now accepting card payments, particularly contactless payments, that's actually really lifted volumes.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I mean I think that's a story that we're seeing all over the world as well. I know in the US there's been a real resurgence of interest in contactless. Are you actually able to see, the kind of the effect of people coming out of lockdown across Europe, for example? So we saw, Italy come out, or France come out, or Croatia come out, or whatever. Can you see that in
Yeah,
the?
we very much see it country by country. I mean, actually, it started with Australia relaxing, and we could see, particularly for our Australian customers, those volumes lift back up. And as you say, country by country, we've seen it happen across continental Europe, and even the slight lifting the last couple of weeks has made a difference in the UK, and 4th of July I think is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's always fascinating to me is that even at the very highest aggregate level, without anything other than kind of just numbers, there can be very few better kind of almost real-time indications of the health of a retail economy than payment data.
Well, we don't even have to wait till sort of overnight data for the next day. I mean, we know it's extraordinary how predictable we are as a set of consumers. So, we know that our peak day of the week is Friday. The peak hour is between 12 and 1. The peak minute tends to be 12:46, and it's quite extraordinary how predictable we are, and therefore we can see based on an hour of trading, we can see the responses of the economy as a whole.
Regulators have responded regulators and suppliers have responded in lots of ways. One of the things that we've seen is the kind of competent authorities, the regulators across Europe, move to push compliance with SCA, with the authentication, those deadlines kind of moving out. What are you seeing there?
So from our perspective, we have continued to ensure that as the technology platform provider behind the fintechs and challenger banks, we have to make sure that we have the readiness,
Yeah.
and we do. As you say, the regulators have got now a varied response to what has to be in by what date, and as do the schemes. But we've made sure that we're ready and we can support our customers as they enroll.
And I guess a delay means broader adoption and more robust technology and better rules and all of that kind of stuff. So overall, probably the consumer will get a better experience with these delays.
Yeah, certainly. Some of our customers, so some issuers have adopted what's now termed to be early, but what was previously on time.
Yeah.
And any potential acceptance issues are being ironed out, and that will ultimately benefit all cardholders.
Well, as long as the friction that comes along with it isn't kind of too impactful on conversion, which I know the jury is
Yeah, no,
still out
absolutely.
on. I mean, although I guess that's an opportunity for innovation, right? That the better the better user experience is, the better risk rules, the better uh, transaction analysis, risk-based exemptions, the more whitelisting, or what do they call it? Anyway, all of
Things. Yeah, that's
yeah,
absolutely right.
there's a kind of opportunity there for differentiation between different issuers and, I guess, different acquirers.
Yeah, no.
Now, one of the topics that's kind of come up again and again over the course of these talks is about digital currency. So we've talked about experimentation in Sweden, and also this really interesting experiment that's going on in China. The kind of Chinese state bank is pushing Alipay and the other kind of digital wallets to have real digital centralized currency in those experiences. And you've got some really relevant experience here, because I mean you're supporting some of the cards in the UK market and elsewhere that are kind of backed by cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There are, I mean, it's one thing holding a wallet with some cryptocurrency in, but at some point you need to be able to try and use that in the real world. And what we're able to provide is a real-time interface between ourselves and our customers, so the digital currency providers, to be able to spend in fiat in the real world, taking from their crypto balances. And in fact, that could be crypto, or it could be any form of stored value, including, for example, we've got a customer, Glint, where the stored value is actually held in gold.
So that's cool. So I can go and buy my cappuccino with a fraction of an ounce of a gold ingot.
Exactly right. It's our technology that's providing that real-time interface, such that within the number of milliseconds that is allowed between, tapping on the POS terminal and responding with a response, we've been able to, do that interpretation of the message, take it to our customer, who will be completing the, that whether it's on the crypto exchange or whatever, to be able to provide that yes or no answer back to scheme and back to the merchant.
And how widespread are those crypto backed, or those other, those other asset backed cards? Is that a trend that you see will continue?
There's quite a few coming through at the moment. They are really in their infancy. They certainly, there's a number that haven't done full market launches yet.
Okay.
We saw our customer Ziglu launch just last week, but there are a number that are still in early days or pre-public launch. That I look forward to coming to market and seeing how they fare.
And I mean, there is this kind of, so we're seeing kind of integrated crypto experiences in some of the challenger banks. So people like Revolut, for example. Are you seeing that model that's kind of that's the neobank model that emerged in the UK? Are you seeing that replicated elsewhere in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. The UK really led the world on the challenger bank race, facilitated by the very supportive regulatory environment. We had the co-location of the technology skills and the investment that really enabled, and the disenfranchisement with the traditional banks coming out of the financial crisis 2008. And really, the rest of the world has looked on and has sought to learn from the UK experience. And as you see other regulators starting to open up to new digital bank licenses, we've got APRA in Australia, for example, HKMA in Hong Kong. We've got MAS in Singapore. Then each now have opened up to digital bank licenses, and the various new players in each of those markets have equally looked to the UK to see how they made how the players that have turned out to be the winners, how they have achieved their success stories and have sought to replicate. And in that regard, we've been delighted to play a role in some of their, in some of the new challenges in Australia, like the likes of Zinger and Hey in Australia. We Lab in Hong Kong. There's some really exciting things happening out there as well.
Yeah, it's I find it endlessly fascinating that you get these trends that move from one side of the globe to the other. You know, something starts in Europe and moves out to the Asian markets, but equally you get things moving in the other direction, like some of the mobile wallets, or in particular QR. I think I was very skeptical about, but I think the combination of when tourism returns from kind of Asian markets, plus also the social distancing that you get with QR, that feels like a technology that maybe has found its time.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there's some, trends that you see move from one country to the next. In other cases, there's real leapfrogging that happens where, particularly, you look at the African markets with mobile. It can be really fascinating how developments take different paths. But certainly, every jurisdiction, every country is learning from each other. There's what is enabled through the likes of these webinars being on the universally available
Yeah.
is that you don't have to be in a country at a particular conference seeing someone face to face in order to learn from them. And the general moves away from cash towards the digitization of financial services, the move towards increased inclusivity and the importance of being able to give that sort of universal access. These are global trends, and every country and every bank and every financial services offering is having to evolve at the same time.
Yeah, although of course the trick with inclusivity is maybe not also to rely on technology that requires you to have a $1,000 smartphone. But anyway, that's a
come back to
exactly.
QR codes and things. Exactly.
Anyway, Joe, thank you so much for for giving me your time today. It's always really fascinating to chat and to get a perspective from the issuer side of the ecosystem. So thank you very much for joining me.
My pleasure.
Thank you.